Over the past few months, the Ministry of Education, through the Ghana Learning Channel, launched the NGSA Booster. This series of televised sessions are aimed at better preparing Guyana's children, especially in the current pandemic.
And with us in studio right now is Miss Alia Brewster Dover, and she is from St. Gabriel's Primary. Welcome, Miss.
Thank you, Philip.
And next to her is Miss Yulita Brown Phillips, and she's formerly of the Success Elementary, and she's currently the creative mind behind the High Achievers After School program.
Thank you, Philip.
Welcome. Miss Melinda Hughes is from the Mays Primary. Miss, thank you for coming today. How are you?
Fine, thank you, and I'm happy to be here.
And next to Miss Hughes is Donella Britton Shamshideen. How are you doing?
I'm quite fine.
And she is from the St. Stephen's Primary. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I remember when I was at that stage, but we didn't call it NGSA then. What was the name back then? Common Entrance. I remember what it felt like to be preparing for Common Entrance. I remember studying. I would wake up early in the morning, and then I remember the actual day going into the class. After that, it was the waiting period for the results. I remember that period as well, too.
Nerve-wracking.
Yes, yes. And so, even as we speak, we can agree that it is tremendous psychological pressure for our pupils. And we want to discuss this in two parts. We want to talk about the psychological preparation, and then we want to talk about the practical preparation. So I'll give each of you a chance to just open up by telling us how can our nation's children cope with the psychological, and you can say what are some of those psychological issues that that they face. So I'll start with Ms. Shamsuddin.
When we talk about the psychological preparation, we know it has to do with the readiness of the mind,
Yes.
your emotions, everything about you personally being in place. And so I think the first thing and the most important thing is for pupils to believe in themselves.
Yes.
And so every morning, getting yourself ready for whatever the day brings to you is important. When you get up and you look at yourself in the mirror, or just close your eyes and say to yourself, I'm going to be the best that I can be. What you think about you is the most important. It's important, it comes before what anyone else thinks about you. So that self-confirmation that you're the best version of you, and that whatever is set in front of you, that you were well able to achieve it, it's very, very important as to getting your mind ready for whatever the challenges, may come. Because there are things that you won't understand during the day. There are things that won't, make sense at first to you. But tell yourself, okay, I mightn't understand it now, but I'll go at it again and I'm going to get it right. The fact is, I am encouraging myself to try again. And I am telling myself at the end of the day, I will achieve something. So that personal idea that you have of yourself, that confirmation that you are able to achieve, it's very important for that psychological.
Beautiful. Ms. Melinda, I know you advocate for calmness, and you embody the calmness.
Yes. Now, in order for someone to gain positively, that individual must have what we refer to, or psychologists deem, intrinsic motivation.
Yes.
And so for a child or an individual, and in this case, we're speaking about the pupils, as they get ready, they must be intrinsically motivated. That can only come, like my colleague, Mrs. Shamsuddin, said, when the individual understands who he or she is, and secondly, the goal that is set, what I would like to achieve. For that to be, intrinsic motivation is influenced by, one, what you hear.
Yes.
Two, how you were treated. And so if our boys and girls are to be well motivated or fully prepared psychologically, then what is said to that child or what is done to or with that child is very important. So If I say to my child or at school or within the family circle, I keep hearing negative comments like you are this or you are that in a negative way, then indeed that will affect the pupil or child, and his level of motivation will be very low. So we need to encourage our boys and girls so that they can be motivated to go forward.
Thank you, Ms. Julita.
Yes, I would want to agree with all that my colleagues would have said. By the way, thank you for having me, Philip. It all begins with the self. And I like to say, in order for anyone to make you feel bad, you have to give them permission. So you have that positive self talk. Command your morning, as Miss said rightly. Tell yourself that you will be the best and you will give of your best. There are times that we have to teach our children to drown out the noise of society. We have to teach our children that it's okay not to get something right now, but you have to continue striving to get it right. We have to recognize that words and thoughts have molding power. And I'm saying this to the parents. What are you speaking over the life of your children? Are they words of love, kindness, encouragement? That's something I want to leave the parents out there and the guardians and even the adults who might not have children of their own, but children cross their paths on a daily basis. Are you speaking life into that child? By speaking life into children, you would see the difference because they will have this feeling of worth and they will believe in themselves. As Miss spoke about intrinsic motivation, we also need to motivate them extrinsically too.
Note of psychological preparation, I would like to bring up a scripture from the Holy Bible that said, life and death is in the power of the tongue. So that's something that we all touched on, the fact that words have meaning, and whatever we proclaim upon ourselves or we allow others to say and affect us, it causes our mind to react in a certain way. So if when you're up in the morning and the first thing you say to yourself, you look into the mirror, you say, I'm ugly. I don't like this about myself. My hair is too short. I'm not smart enough. If you keep saying that, eventually you'll become that. So why not use that same power to speak positive things over your life? So I'd like to encourage the boys and girls of Guyana to get up every morning, look in the mirror and say, I am enough. Everything that I need to succeed is already inside of me. I believe in myself, I have worth, I have value, and I can do this. So if you get up with that mindset, I'm confident that over time, it will resonate or it will illuminate in your actions.
Like Miss Alia said, I love the fact that she started with that scripture. But regardless, because we're speaking to the population and we have different religions, I want to embrace that saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And so when it comes to the psychological preparation, we know it starts with the individual. We would have embraced and recognized that the family is also important, the school, the teachers more so. But let's not forget those other groups that have a vital part in society. For instance, the church, we have the mandirs, we have the mosque. There are also even the youth groups. The youth groups, they're also very, very important because they need to also give support to these children that they come into contact with. in the community, whatever group you know that their children who are preparing for exam, you see them, just ask them.
Yes.
How, you know, you're going to make us proud. Ask them, how are you getting through with your studies? What did you read today? What work did you do? Because you have to let them understand that they're being molded in a way to become productive parts of society.
Yes.
And so that you think that they are going to become somebody important and successful. That alone in itself, you know, Miss Melinda stops me and says something positive, you know,
Yeah.
Danella, how are you? Did you? I loved how you did this, you know.
Yes.
We're looking out for you. You know how much that's going to motivate me?
Yes.
Because I'm going to know that there is someone out there who's looking up to me, who is expecting good things from me.
Yes.
The fact that she could have stopped me and asked me, how are you getting through? I remember this. It means that she thinks that I'm important too.
Yes.
So to all of these
Yes,
groups, and I
yes.
know that there are different representatives looking at this,
Right.
at this program, I'm encouraging you. We're encouraging you to play your vital part in helping our children to be the best that they can be and to help them. This is a different period in our life.
Yes.
We didn't have to sit exams through a pandemic.
Nope.
Yeah.
So our children at this time are going through something that we've never experienced.
Yes.
And so we have to go that extra mile to see how best we could help them.
Indeed.
Mason, to add to that, you spoke about members in the community meeting the child, asking if they're getting along. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because there would be this adult in a given community that might genuinely mean well for this child.
That's right.
And they would say,
You best go and do
you
good.
best go and do good. You better do good. You better get
Confident.
Queen's College
Yes.
or whatever might be the case. Yes, they mean well for this child. They want to encourage them.
But they can
But how about, yes, how about we say that in another way? Just as Miss said, how are you doing? Are you getting along?
Yes.
Do you have all your textbooks? Is the internet in your home working?
Yeah.
If you can afford it, assist that child, the parent maybe with a data plan, or like just give them your Wi-Fi password for the period. You can change it after the exam, it's okay.
Yes.
But you know, we all need to look out for our children because we
Yes.
love the children of our country dearly.
And it's true what Miss said, how you say things, because this can bring us to a next point in terms of getting the child ready when it comes to communication.
Yes.
You know, how we
Communication is
say
key.
things. So, as Miss said to parents, what are you saying to your children?
What are you speaking over
Right?
their lives?
And are you just speaking? Are you allowing them to speak? That's the next question we could
Yes.
ask, because
Yes.
what we can do sometimes, or what we can allow to happen, is the imposition of our expectations without knowing anything about the child, how the child is feeling. And so we need to open that channel of communication where the child feels free to speak.
Yes.
You know, it's not in a way that you're encouraging them to be disrespectful or
Yes.
anything, but you must encourage that positive and nurturing room for discussion,
That's
where
it.
your child can come and say, well, mom, you know, this is really bothering me.
That's
Because
it.
if the child is dealing with other issues,
Yes.
it can block everything out. They might genuinely want to accomplish this, but they might have other issues that you don't know. And sometimes it could be too that we're not speaking to them well.
That is
True.
And it can happen unconsciously because parents are very busy.
Yes.
And as I said, as much as our children, they're going through the pandemic,
Yes.
there's some parents who are going through the extra pressure.
Yes.
Some of those who've lost their jobs,
That's
and
it.
sometimes I know you could be at the tip of the iceberg, you know, and sometimes you just speak. And I'm saying unconsciously we could do it in a way that we don't realize that it's affecting our children.
Yes.
And so opening that room or creating that environment for healthy discussion.
It's quite important.
It's very, very important. We must know, how they're feeling, because it's difficult sometimes. I feel as a parent that everything I tell my child, sometimes it's the right thing.
Yes.
But personally, I have that space where I allow my children to speak and I listen. Sometimes, yes, as a parent, you feel it's going, but you still have to force yourself to listen, to really understand what they're thinking and they say in every pound of lie, there's an ounce of truth.
Yes.
Sometimes what they're saying, that's the time when it hits you.
Yes.
And you say to yourself, I do this.
Yes.
And I didn't, and then you could say to yourself, I didn't realize that it could affect. And look who it's affecting, your own child.
Yeah,
And
ready for the exam.
And whatever they become, eventually it's left with you because
Yeah,
they're
that's
your
right.
own.
That's
And
quite
so,
important.
yes, so we need to open that room for positive discussion.
Yes.
It would only, in the end, it would help not only the child,
Yes.
but it will help the family as well.
Yes.
Yes.
And to add to what Miss said about opening the lines of communication, it is very important because when we communicate with our children, they feel respected.
Yes,
That's it.
Because we grew up in a culture where we couldn't communicate, we couldn't
Yeah.
speak openly. It was always
Children
seen
must know their
as
place.
rudeness. Children must know their place. Little children must be seen and not heard and all those things, right? Some of us as parents, we make that mistake because that's how we were raised. And
Yes.
we think that because we were raised that way, we should raise our children that way.
Yes.
But the thing is, the whole world is evolving.
Yes.
Things are changing. When you teach your children to communicate at home, it will go abroad.
Yes.
In the school setting, they will be able to have good communication with their teacher.
Yeah.
And we know that it's a partnership. Child at the top, teacher at one side of that triangle,
Yeah.
and parent at the
Yeah.
other side.
Alia?
I could recall an example, a personal example. My sister and my mom, they were out shopping. So my mom had the intention of after shopping, she was going to just put down the bags and they were going to start the schoolwork. So when they enter, my sister was like, "Mom, I need some privacy to calm down. I can't just come off of the road and start working. I need some privacy." And that thing resonated with my mother because in her mind, she's thinking of my sister as, okay, just something she has to get it over with. Study time is just something to get it over with. But we have to really prioritize our children. Be circumspect with your children.
Yes.
You're not dealing with the average person on the road and you're just going to deal. No, you have to be circumspect and respect your children. Listen to them.
Miss Melinda, what are you thinking?
Well, you see, my thoughts are always towards success.
Yes.
And so, as an educator, I am thinking that for our boys and girls to function in a way that will make them produce, indeed, we have to provide the environment. And so environment is very important. Like my colleagues would have hinted to that before. And in dealing with the way we communicate and the way we respond to our children. So that for our boys and girls to function to the best of their ability, the environment that we provide must facilitate or be conducive for such.
Yes.
And since we're making reference here to the pandemic, we know for sure that it has not only reduced, but I will say in uplifted commas, robbed us, robbed of our children of their freedom that they were comfortable with.
Yes.
And so for our boys and girls to be able to function without feeling as though they're being pressured, then the environment has got to be conducive.
Yes.
And so the best place for that, yes, it begins at home.
Yes.
If the
Definitely.
home environment is not conducive, if a child wakes up, as my colleague here, Mrs. Shamsuddin, would have said, that Home and the first thing in the morning is what makes the difference. If I wake up to an environment
Right.
of fights
Right.
and abuse, whether verbal, physical, or however, how am I going to produce that which is expected or what I desire to produce? So let's ensure parents and even teachers, as we work in this pandemic, for those who are working virtually or even in the physical classroom with restrictive time, then let us make sure that the environment is friendly so that our boys and girls can produce and even teachers too can gain the success they're looking for.
Right.
Yes.
So we want to touch on the practical aspects of the preparation for our pupils for the NGSA, coming from you professionals, experience, as we present the NGSA Toolbox. How important is nutrition?
It's very, very important, and that discussion by itself would take us more than an hour because we know that the child from the time built before in conception in the mother's womb, whatever the mother eats is added to the child, and it helps with that. Now our children are at the stage where they practically want to choose what they want to eat. Are they eating the right things?
That is it.
Right? That's the next question. Now, when it comes to eating the right things, I know we're talking about that balanced diet and we teach it in school, what it must entail, all the nutrients, and so they must see the fruits,
And the
and
vegetables.
vegetables, and the meat if they're
Protein.
doing the protein.
And
let's
in
not
the
just say
right
meat 'cause we have-
proportions too.
Right, and the right
Yeah.
proportion. But then we have to think of our children in those locations that, it's different to
Yes.
us. They don't have access to some of the kind of fruits we're going to say are high in this or what. So we have to be very careful when it comes to nutrition and how we try to encourage people to actually ensure that their children eat well. The children are already accustomed to a pattern of eating.
Yes.
And in terms of preparing for examination, we don't want to force anything new on our children.
Yes.
We don't want to force anything new on our children. They have grown and survived on what they have been eating for all the years.
If it's
Yes.
Spanish roll and nut butter, then that's it.
Because sometimes we try at this time to give our children the best.
So let's talk about that. So in giving the best, our intentions are all well, but it could be very dangerous.
It can be. It can be.
How so?
Because
the routine.
this is the time. Remember, as I said before, the child is already accustomed to a routine.
And when you break that,
Studying and preparation for exam by itself, it brings on a level of anxiety that
Yes.
we can never understand or underestimate.
Yes.
For each individual, it's different.
Yes.
And so, yes, you might say, all right, because even with me, I said, exam is coming up for one of my sons. I'm going to take him out to lunch. But where will I take him out? Why can't he eat home? I've been cooking every day. Why do I, But for me, it might not be about the food.
yes.
It might be just trying to give him a chance to relax
Yes.
outside,
It
right? But
might
for
be.
some of us, we might say, we custom, in Georgetown, you're accustomed to the KFC and the Royal Castle and some of the close by regions. You're accustomed and you think, children are excited. And you might think that might add some motivation, just hit it back there. You try to get them the best. But then you could also create confusion in that.
Because there's the move, the belly growing.
Yes.
Just for the exams alone.
Yes, the anxiety, as I was saying before, already that creates a stir in you,
Yes.
right? So that now mixed with anything new in terms of food, you try to eat new things, Philip, and sometimes just to be modest, you smile, but inside you're churning. And so
I know.
I know that we've all been through that experience,
Yes.
just trying to be modest to whoever we're with or whatever.
Yes.
We say, oh my, this thing
Lovely.
tastes good or whatever, but it's sending a different sensation.
Anybody.
And you know, it's making us feel different.
Yeah.
And now how does that child cope with this different feeling on the morning they wake up for exam and they see this big plate with all of
A
these
feast.
gifts, you know, these different
Apples
things.
and grapes.
And the juice, I don't even know what brand of juice it is, and it might have an ugly taste, you know? And so we need to be careful. Just allow the child to go through as normal.
Touching on normal, Miss Melinda, tell us about studying in a timetabled fashion.
Very well, Philip. Now, pupils by now are aware of the subjects that are paired. Or even if they aren't for some reason, then the paired subjects for the NGSA are language and science. Science paper 1 and 2, and math paper 1 and 2, and social studies paper 1 and 2.
Yes.
So for a child to prepare, or in preparing for the exam, I would advise that a child or pupils can revise based on the timetable, based on what is expected as it relates to the subject for the particular day, so that there will be cohesiveness. So if I am revising language aspects, my grammar, my vocabulary, composition, comprehension, spelling, then I know these are grouped, and then I focus on science, paper 1 and 2 type content. Not that I am studying language exam or science exam, but I am preparing for. So for a child of such, then it would be quite comfortable, because when that child or the children get into the exam room, then there will not be like a squabble or a scrambling to figure out, this kind of effect. Where do I go next? But I didn't prepare for this subject. You know that it is structured, and so because of what is expected based on the timetable, then I would advise that revision or preparation be done like that. In addition to that as well, children can prepare by grouping topics. Deal with topics in a way that, when I say group, I mean relate. So let's say in math, I am revising sets. Then in social studies, I can look at the administrative regions and I examine the features and the economic activities, those that are similar. So if I'm doing sets, then, I am grouping based on intersection or members.
So where were you when I was doing the exam? I did this
Oh, you made it sound as if Messi is 100 years
I need this advice.
We all needed it, Philip. Don't feel bad.
What are some of the common mistakes that our pupils make when they get into the exam room? And I know you were touching stuff like reading instructions and turning people over. Tell me, who wants to start?
So upon entering the exam room, children should be well equipped with the tools that they need to do the exam and do it in a proper manner. That includes the timetable, the right pencils, which I would suggest the 3B pencils because they have high pigmentation and it makes it easier for shading. The tool should also be presented in a transparent pencil case or a Ziploc bag perhaps, so as to take away any sense of suspicion before they enter the exam room.
Great.
And have them fondling a 2 pencil in this pocket, an erasing here, the timetable in the back pocket.
No.
We want you to breeze through this exam, children. So you have your nice transparent pencil case or your Ziploc bag with everything in it. So when you bump up there to the invigilator, you just flash your bag with your passport, your NGSA passport, and you're given a free pass into the exam room.
Beautiful. Ms. Melinda, tell us about the answering the
In
questions.
relation to answering questions, it is important to note, and I want to echo this, that reading is the key to success. And so one of the things that our boys and girls, our pupils must be prepared to do is read the instructions very carefully and make sure that they understand. Because you see, instructions is what give guidance as to which question or questions must be answered, that is, for the compulsory ones, and the questions that should be answered thereafter, making sure that he or she or pupils answer exactly what is required. So how do you do this? Paper 1 for the language, science, social studies, and math carry 40 questions, which are multiple choice. So that boys and girls are expected to answer those questions on an answer sheet. There is nowhere where a pupil will be expected to answer on the question paper. So for boys and girls who will be doing the exam, they must be prepared to answer on an answer sheet. And that is why the 3B pencil or the B's, HB's per se, or maybe 2B is very relevant, because shading will be of high quality. So that a child who reads well or understands what he or she has to do will shade exactly what is required. One answer for each question. So it is important to make sure that it is well understood what is expected. For the paper 2s, which will always have one compulsory question, that is for math, science, and social studies. There is always one compulsory question, which is at number 1. Then there are 5 other questions from which pupils are expected to choose 3. So that boys and girls, if you are familiar with such or you're being prepared, then on the day of the exam, you're expected to answer 4 questions only for the paper 2. However, those 4 questions have parts. So question 1 may very well have part A, B, C, and D, or an A part, a B part, and a C part in relation to math. So that a child who understands or is getting ready must understand that he or she must answer all the parts for the particular question that he or she chooses. So that question 1, all the parts. If you choose question 2, all the parts. If you choose question 4, all the parts that are listed under that. And of course, you do answers that are most appropriate.
What if one of the answers is really baffling the student? What's your advice?
They do not.
So, on such an issue, if perchance there are questions, and we know for sure that questions do baffle. That is why they're there. That is why they're there. All right? And so I would advise pupils, if you come across an item in the exam, a question that is giving you a little challenge, you're taking a while to figure out and understand, move on. Leave a little mark at the question, move on, do the others, and then by the time, most times, you become confident as you return and you get that answer, or you're able to solve.
And then sometimes reading the paper in its entirety before beginning to answer the question. So you receive the paper, you're told that it's okay to turn, you read the paper in its entirety. Because on more than one occasions upon studying the exam papers, sometimes there are hidden answers. So the answer for maybe question 5 can be present in question 20. So if you would just take time to read the paper in its entirety, then I think that would give you the confidence, and you'll know which questions you are confident and can answer without hesitation, and those that you need time to think about. So you answer the ones that you're confident with, you answer them quickly, and then give yourself that extra time to study and think about those questions that are a little more challenging.
So we can agree that time management here is
Yes.
very
Important,
important.
yes.
So you need, our children finish the paper in such a short period of time. Sometimes it baffles you, and I think even for our teachers and our parents, we need to at this time ensure that even during the study time, I know a lot of them, well, all of them should be involved in
Yes.
practicing on the past
Papers,
papers because they
yes.
have those as a part of their package, their study
Yes.
package that they would have received from the ministry.
Thanks to the
So they're
ministry.
exposed to the structure of questions
Yes.
and the instructions that come
Mm.
in those on those examination papers.
Yes.
So what they need to do is time themselves. This is the
Yes.
time where they need to start timing themselves. The
Yes.
paper says an hour and 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
That 10 minutes
10 for reading.
is right. The 10 minutes is for reading.
Yes.
Use that 10 minutes and
Wisely.
just go through the paper, as Miss Ali has said, in its entirety.
Yes.
Because what you also want to do, you might love a topic.
Yes.
Mhm.
You might love a topic. I love doing anything on the animal kingdom. But then the question in itself that comes that day, is it baffling you? Are you sure that you liking the topic doesn't mean that you're able to answer
that
all
question.
the
Exactly.
there might be another
Mhm.
topic that's another question that's a little more simpler, and you may be able to gain more marks
Yes.
on that
By
question.
attempting that question.
So
yes.
you need to be very strategic, and I guess this
Yes.
is a skill that we should have been helping our
Teaching.
children to
Mhm.
develop. And I'm saying that it's not too late. Teachers and
Yes.
parents, we
Mm.
need to take a step back and help our children to develop this strategy.
Mhm.
They need to strategize at this
Yes.
point to see how they could gain maximum points
Mhm.
on answering the questions that are
So
given.
important.
Don't look for the
Specify
topic
time.
that you love. I know you enjoy the
Yes.
experiment and all of that, but are you able to answer all the questions? Because there
Mhm.
are going to be complicated questions.
Yes.
Try to see those that you are, you're better able to answer and score maximum, but you're confident in the answers, as Miss Ali would have said.
Yes.
And picking up from what Miss Melinda would have said in terms of the examination structure, we have to be careful. We understand that the paper one, it's multiple choice and they have that answer sheet.
Sheet.
The
Yes.
paper two, for most of the subjects, you have one compulsory and then you have three
Mhm.
options, so you
Yeah.
choose. But for the language paper two, it's a little different.
Different.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the language paper two has two sections, section A and section B.
Mhm.
Section A most times comprise of scenarios and not topics related to letter
Mhm.
writing.
Yes.
Everything there will be on letter writing
Yes.
of the sort. Could be a friendly letter,
Yeah.
it could be a business letter.
Yes.
Okay? Section B would have scenarios that are so designed to have you write a story.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could be descriptive, it
Yes.
could be narrative, it could
Yes.
be argumentative or
Yes.
persuasive,
Yes.
it could be expository, where you're explaining a process.
Picture study.
Right?
too.
And then we have the picture study
Oh, yes.
that are so famous on our paper and very important. And that's something sometimes you miss. You say, it's a picture. They know you
Yeah.
just watch and write. But there's more entailed in it.
Definitely.
There's so much more. So in studying and preparing, we need to take a step back and look back at these little things that we're going to bring up during this program. So as I was saying, the language paper two, we have section A and section B.
Mhm.
Very often, our children, and this will also go for the other subjects, our children would take a scenario from section A and they will take a scenario from section B.
And
It is
answer both.
important for our children to answer. It is important for our children to understand that for the language paper two, you're only expected to write one piece on
Give it to
one scenario.
Yes.
Whether it's from section A
Yes.
or whether it's from section B, you have a wide range of scenarios to choose from.
Yes.
You're only expected to choose one, not two.
Perfect it.
One.
Mhm.
And now you have enough time
Mhm.
to make sure that the piece that you present is the best that you could. Because the time you now have, you only have to focus on writing one piece. It gives you time for brainstorming. It gives you time for putting your ideas together. It gives you time for reviewing. Because the language paper too, for the marking, they look at relevant ideas,
Yes.
whatever the scenario. And I'm saying scenario because before, like when we were writing common entrance, you would have your favorite game,
Yes.
My
best
my
friend.
pet, you know,
Your birthday party.
your birthday party. But now it's
Nope.
a scenario.
Where you have to
It's-
think critically before you
Yes.
actually write.
Right. And so the child has to be able to read through the scenario,
Mhm.
identify the task,
That is it.
right?
Mhm.
Identify the task
Yes.
which they're expected to complete.
Indeed.
And then for most of them, they have to give a title
That-
Yes.
or a topic,
I
right?
have to remember to
What
do
is the
that.
title of the story or the heading of the story? So like I'm saying, in the language paper too, the pupils are given scenarios.
Yes.
Let's take, for example, your birthday is coming up in 3 months and you're expecting to have the best birthday party. Write a composition telling about the perfect present you expect to have. Now, in that scenario, we talk all about this birthday party. So, is the task asking you or the pupil to write about the party?
No, it's not.
The child has to be able to read the part that says, write a composition telling about the perfect gift or present that you expect.
Yes.
All right? So, what we did, we just created the environment for the child to understand that the present is related to a birthday party. Why they might want to say something about the birthday party, they might want to say even about their birthday, what age they will be attaining
Yes.
is also a relevant idea
Yeah.
for a composition of that sort. The task says that you have to write about the present.
That's
Yes.
So what is key here is figuring out what that
What
particular
the
task
task
is.
is.
And not to be confused with how fancy
Right.
this birthday
The
party
scenario.
is.
Because
Scenario.
right away for children, a scenario like that, as I said, you get excited.
Become
Since
attracted.
birthday
Since you see
party.
birthday party.
You're attracted to that.
Attracted and distracted.
Yes, it can be something to throw you off, right?
Yes.
Very well.
Because children are so, oh, I remember last month was Sally's birthday. Last month was Anna's birthday. And they might want to write about that. But then remember, it's not about someone else's birthday unless the scenario says, in this scenario,
They're asking.
they're telling you, they're asking you about your, it's saying first that it's your birthday that's coming up. But then
Yes.
again, you're not writing about what you want for the party.
No.
It's the present.
That is
Remember,
careful.
even if you identify the perfect birthday party as a present, you have to say why. And you have to describe what this party is supposed to be. Like you're saying that is all you want for your birthday.
Yes.
But then most children, the way you talk about the present, you think about something that someone will buy.
Yes.
Right?
Physical.
Something that you collect in your hands and all of that.
Yes.
So you must name it.
Yes.
You must probably speak about the features that it should entail.
Yes.
All right? And then say, why is it? Like I said, if it's the birthday party, you want as your present from your parents, obviously. You say, why?
Yes.
Why is it you want, this present? And so they have to be careful
Yeah.
Very
in
careful.
understanding the task. But our children must remember that they're only to write on
One
one
piece.
scenario for the language paper too.
Yeah.
Writing too takes time away from you, and you need all the time in the exam, all the time that you're given to make sure that you do present a masterpiece.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Miss Yolita, the pupil is finished before the stipulated time. What should they do?
Well, as teachers, we would always advise that once you are finished before the stipulated time, we advise that you go back through your paper. And as I like to say, ensure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. That's not a time for you to be playing with pencils, trying to write notes to slip to your friends, playing with sharpener, eraser, hitting on the desk. Just stay calm, be positive, wait until the invigilator says time is up.
Now the time is up. Miss Melinda, after the exam is done, we're relieved. Do they go outside and discuss? What would be your advice here?
This is something that humans enjoy a lot. And I think it's because
Love
it
it.
brings with it a sense of competition
Yes.
and achievement.
Yes.
So it's a practice, it's a habit. Even teachers do it. I refer to that as post-test syndrome.
PTS.
Yes. Where, after the test is completed, you're there seeking to gain or to get the answers and to compare who did what and if you did. And so you would have gained so many marks, you already know, and you did not gain, so why you did that now? To do something like that, especially if it's on the first day of the exam, definitely can affect a child or children psychologically. And remember, we spoke about mental preparation. So if we practice that, or I would advise against such practices because it can interfere with the focus for the next exam.
Yeah.
Even when the exam is finished, try not to practice post-test syndrome. Try not to practice post-test syndrome. That's because a child can become so discouraged or maybe worried
Yes.
as he or she waits
Yes.
for the result. And that can lead to severe pressure.
Anxiety.
Pressure in the sense that a child can begin to wander away or do things that can be detrimental to his or her health.
Yes.
Or even to the family because he is anxiously waiting for what may not be.
Remember, boys and girls, that everything that you need to succeed is already inside of you. All you need to do now is to have a little faith, believe in yourself, speak positive words of affirmation every morning, and remember, there is no one road to success. And after you would have completed your exam, don't spend that time idly wondering about the results. Take up a new hobby.
Boys and girls, this is the time where you will showcase what you have learned. I know that it wasn't easy. Circumstances are not what you are accustomed to. It's different from the routine. I know that you can do it. This is coming from a simple, ordinary person who went to an ordinary school. Remember, always aim for the moon. If you miss, you will fall among the stars. Boys and girls of Guyana, go make us proud. We know that you can do it. Teachers, thank you for putting in the effort. Parents, we thank you for your constant encouragement to your child. Boys and girls, go do us proud. And remember to continue watching at the Guyana Learning Channel.
So, boys and girls, as you get ready to do your National Grade 6 assessment, I want to leave one simple word with you. Put the best foot forward. That is, give of your best. Of course, there are some of you who may very well think that there's nothing good that you can do. Remember, positive self-thought is very important. Not only positive self-thought, but positive self-talk. So do that bit for yourself And at the end, I am sure you will receive the reward that you worked for. Blessings as you go forward.
All our pupils looking at the program, to the parents and to the teachers, this is not the end of it. On this program, we would have just been giving you the opportunity to make or to go to that checklist that you already have and see the things that you have been doing and those that you have not been doing. And to just take that step back and then go forward. You know, sometimes to get where you're going, you need to just step back and then go forward. This is the time. We know the exam countdown is on, but like I always think that it's time. They say what rain can't fall, dew can't fall, dew does something. So let's keep positive. To our pupils, we know that you're going to make us proud. You already have all the tools, the physical things that you need, your books and everything. You have our support. To the teachers, make yourselves more available at this time. I know sometimes it might feel that we're asked to do so much, but for our pupils, let's try to make ourselves a little more available. They might just need a little word of, comfort or encouragement in the moment. But at the end of the day, let's remember that we can do it. And we're going to make ourselves proud. We're going to make our families proud. We're going to make our communities proud. And we're going to make our country proud. Remember, you are all full of potential. And Guyana is just waiting for you to become that productive part in the development of our country.
This has been the NGSA Toolbox, a conversation with the leading ladies of the NGSA Booster. Thank you for your time, ladies.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And thank you for joining us.